Okay, guys. In this really short video, hopefully it stays short. I want to show you how to recreate because I believe the best way to learn Photoshop or any other tool is to recreate what others have done and learn through that process. So, in this video, we are going to recreate one of the magazine posters that one of you critiqued. We're going to recreate it. I kind of chose it because I think it's kind of simple, it's straightforward. So I'm going to walk you through how I can attempt to recreate it. And then when we're coming on Monday, we're going to choose another cover, another magazine cover to see how we can recreate it. That way, through that process, you get to even learn things that I've not mentioned to you. And that's kind of how Photoshop, honestly, that's how you learn it better. All right. So the image we are going to, or the magazine cover we are going to recreate is this Times magazine. I think it's from 2019. It's Steve Jobs, and it's a Times magazine. And I think it's quite very simple. There's just a red bar, the text, and the picture. So I was able to obtain that picture. And now what I'm going to try and do is understand what kind of text was used and essentially create the red bar, put the masthead, which is time, put the subhead, which is on the above the time, and then add the other text, and that's it. Literally, that's it. That's all we're going to be doing. But we're going to be using layers, like we talked about in class. So the first thing you want to do is when you come on Photoshop, make sure you go to New File, select the custom. This is usually the custom size that we use, 21 by 29, 7 for like a magazine cover. Make sure the resolution is 300. 300 is often helpful if you want to print. So ensure you have it at 300 pixels slash inches. Don't worry about the color mode or the color profile. You don't have to worry about those. For now, let's just start with the white canvas with the right dimensions. Okay, we have our Photoshop workspace open. And what we want to recreate is this magazine cover here. So what's typically the first thing we do? We could start with one thing, which is to create the bars, right? So what does that bar look like? To create the bar, you want to go to the rectangle tool. In this rectangle tool, there are other tools there that allows you to create different shapes, but I'll just go with the rectangle tool because it kind of looks like what we want. Make sure it's selected, and then, oh, by the way, before you start anything, you want to ensure you put your guides. Why are guides important? Because when you start printing stuff, there are parts of the paper that would get cut off, and when you start printing, you don't want those your actual design to get cut off with those parts. So you put those guides. So when it's printed out, if at all is going to be printed out, the integrity of your actual design remains. So to put in guides, you go to view, guides, new guide layout. Make sure this you select custom. You can choose any color you want. You can choose black, or I prefer this because it's actually quite bright and you can see it. And then make sure you uncheck column so that it takes away the lines at the center. So uncheck columns, uncheck rows. So you can either do 59.055 pixels or you do 0.5 cm. So, but I would do 0.5 because it's easy to remember. So it's the same size, just that one is a centimeter, the other one is pixels. All right. So that's what it is. So we're just going to do centimeters because it's kind of easy to remember, right? Then we click OK. Now we have our guides. The first thing I say I wanted to do was to create the rectangle that would surround the image. So I would start with that. I've selected the rectangle. I would adjust it, make sure it fits, right? And then the next thing you want to do is when you go to the options bar where you can control each of the tools that you choose, please pay attention to this part. When you go to shape, make sure shape is selected. When you go to fill, make sure transparent is selected and you'll see why. Remember, it's a triangle. So you want the triangle, the space between the bars to be transparent. So you want to select transparent. And then you go to stroke. Stroke is now where you add the bar. The more you increase the stroke, the more bars you have. The more you go, the more it fills up the screen. But we want to kind of have it here, right? Somewhere here. So like 262 pixels is fine. We want to also change the color to red or any of the color that we want. You could go check, use tools online to check the particular color that we have here. It will give you the particular hue, saturation, and the lightness, the specific hue, saturation, and lightness. You can use it. You could just choose a random color here. I will just do this red because it kind of looks similar, I think. Okay, no, I think this is, it should be darker. To change the hue or the saturation, you can do it here. Could just make it a little bit darker. Perfect. Now I have my color. Now we have the bar, right? The next thing we want is the image. So we are going to go on and bring in the image. I'm going to go to where I kept it and then bring it in and drop it. Perfect. So we have our image. You can extend it and bring it down so that so this is where you could now use um, the move tool to make sure that the image is well centered. If it's not, you can actually expand the height of the image or the width of the image. Right here, we want to kind of make sure it's balanced. So what I would do is I would make sure it's selected and then start to make adjustments to it. For those who don't know, I kind of used an AI tool to take out the original graphics here. Okay, so now when you bring in the image, you want to ensure, because first of all, when you bring in the image is probably in front of the rectangle. So you want to take it to the back. And then you want to transform it. How do you transform it? You can click on Command T and then expand it in a way that his face sits at the center of the magazine cover. Now you have essentially your whole magazine, your magazine is done. That's it. Now you start adding text, right? So what's the first text we want to add? We want to add the masthead. And the masthead is just time, but it's a serif. So when we go to text, we want to ensure we click on the text font. It would ask you what type of font you want. Do you want a sans serif or a slap serif or a script or something decorative? It's just essentially sorting the types of fonts. We want a serif. And I've realized that a very good serif to use, let's do Bodoni. Bodoni is usually like a classic. It looks like Roman, but it's not exactly that. Hmm, am I doing this right? Okay, so put Bodoni here and call it time. And then we highlight it and then we increase its size, right? And then we click and we want to go to the move tool, make sure it's centered at its face. We want to change the color. So how do we do that? Do you remember? You either do it on the right side here, or you double click on the text and highlight it. The options bar would come up. You can now change options bar, or you can even choose the exact color that you use using this knob tool here. Just choose in that color, this color tool. It will give you the exact color that you had on the bar. And now, technically, we have a magazine. A magazine cover is almost done, right? Kind of looking similar. That's so cool. So the next thing we want to do is we want to select the text, the next text, which is the subhead above the masthead. So that's our new text. We want to add new text. We want to reduce the size because it's too big. That's an appropriate size. We want to add it and then highlight it. And then we change its color to, is that white? Yeah, that's a white. So you could make it into like a white. Let's change it to a white. There you go. And I think it's actually bigger than we have it. So let's increase it just a little bit. I think it's wider. So I think if you notice, the environment special is different color. The Paris of plastic is a different white. Is a different saturation of white. So let's do that. So we'll make environmental special a little bit darker, just a little bit here. You see that? And then we have our image. And I think we can make it even bigger. Let's see if we go higher. Okay. One thing, and then make sure it's centered, right? So you want to also make sure that it's always centered. So go to the move tool, move it to the center. So I think we have room to even move this text up just a little bit. Um, One thing we can also do is transform the text, and that's something you also want to learn. So it's either you adjust the font of the text or you transform the text. So go to your move tool, select on the layer you want to transform, click on Command T. It will now allow you either increase the font or reduce it this way, right? Or you can smash it, or you can even expand it in a way that violates its aspect ratio. And the way to do that is always hold on Shift, and you can actually bend it to look a certain way. All right, so we can even just do this here and expand it just a little bit. So Command Shift to violate its aspect ratio, or just normal adjustments to expand its size. So I think we have that. Right? So you see, we are getting somewhere. That's good. And of course, we want to add the next text, which is this text here. And we know by looking at it, it's not a serif, it is a sans serif. So we want to probably look for text, put the text here, and then look for a sans serif. We'll go to the style, choose sans serif. I like Arial Black. Kind of looks like it. I'm not sure, but let's try. Change the color to white. Yeah, I think we just need to adjust the aspect ratio. You want to left align it and then maybe come to this right side. You can reduce the size, or you can do this as well where you reduce this the spacing or the kerning. I think that's what it's called, between the text. And then now we can increase the font just a little bit. Okay, just a little bit more. Too much, too much. We can reduce the kerning, give it some space, and then increase the size a little bit more. Okay, there you go. We have a magazine. But remember, you always want to save, because if I have done all of this and something happens and the computer goes up and I've not saved it, I'll have to start afresh. So what do? We do uh, file, save a copy. You want to ensure you save it as a Photoshop, call it jobs, time copy, just for the sake of it. Make sure it's on Photoshop so that you can always come back and continue what you've been working on. So remember how we talked about PSDs to save the version that you're working on so you can continue working on it. PNGs to save the final version. So for now, I want to have a PSD version so that in case something happens, we don't lose all of these beautiful things that we just did. And then we make sure it's saved. Have that in there. And then we continue working. So we want to include this text. So essentially what you're now doing is replicating. Copy the text, look for the font. So you copy the text, you look for the type of fonts that you want. Is it a serif or a sans serif? If you notice, it's like it's mixed. This is a serif here, but this is also more script. So you mean you have to add two types of text, right? So what I would do is I would use the writing tool and then add the text and then reduce the font, right? Reduce the font. You also want to make sure that I think because the text is behind, you want to reduce the kerning. And reduce this so that you can see both of them, right? And then go to the move tool to move stuff, bring it to match. And then we want to make the first part. This is wrong. Okay. So the first part is more serif. So we are going to change that to serif. Let us use the original one that we used. Let's use a serif and let's use Bodoni. And then increase this a little bit. You just have to increase the font. But let us finish with the changing of the font first. Change this to Bodoni as well. And then we want to increase the fonts. Increase it so that we could see it properly. And then we want to change the second one to what? It is a script. You can see that, right? It's a script. So let's look for script fonts. You select it, go to the font, change it to script. Now look for different script. Let's see. Let's see Charm. Okay. Charm is not exactly, it's not exactly that. I mean, it's always good practice to know the kind of font that was used, but if you don't know it, you can also actually just guess it. And then we want to change that to what? A red, right? Change the color to a red. So you select it, change it, or you match it to the color so that the color is consistent. Same thing to the other one. To a charm, change it to red. And I think we can make it bold. Yeah, let us bold in the text. We can even bolding, and I think we can reduce the font of the by Stephen Fry and let Lev Grossman because it's smaller. So let's do that. Let's reduce just the name so that it matches the original one. It's a little bit, and this as well. Make sure it's on the same line as this. Want to reduce the font. What's this font that we used here? 21. I want to just input that 21. Now we can just even put this here and just increase it together so we see what they all look like. Yeah, so okay. I think the spacing could need more work though. Let's see if we can change the spacing. So I think it's because it's different font. It's not allowing us change the space. Oh, I think we can actually do that. So let's change the spacing together. This is how you change the spacing. So this is what we call tracking. Tracking is horizontally and kerning is vertically. They probably want to increase the font just a little bit, but I think it's because it's different font. It's not letting us increase it together. So what we can do is we can actually increase it separately. So let's increase this. Let's increase this one just a little bit. Since it was 23, could we make it 27? Same with the one below 27. And then of course we increase the tracking. So just a little bit, keep it at 0. And then one to the space between them, just a tiny bit. So the kerning, which is the space between them vertically, you want to increase that just a little, make sure it's selected. Then you increase the kerning. So because I am using different fonts, that's why the kerning has different numbers. So I probably just go here and choose a particular number. Let's do 18. And okay. So I think we have our Times Magazine. That's so cool, right? Okay. Then you want to save it. You remember how to save file, save as a copy. This is our final work. If you're done, go to PNG, change the name. You can call it jobs edited. Make sure it's PNG, and then you save it. Large file, yes. So we'll go to our computer and typing jobs edited. Does it come out? It does. There you go. We have a replication of a Time magazine.